It's crazy how you can know a guy your entire life. And then one day, you're looking at a stranger wearing his face. My buddy man. We've been friends since grade school. We're talking building forts in the woods, learning to drive in his dad's beat-up truck, being each other's wingmen at awkward high school parties. He was always the guy with the biggest heart in the room, the first one to help you move a couch or talk you through a breakup. He was a genuinely good dude. That's the part I keep trying to hang on to. After he dropped out of college and moved back home in 2020, the drinking started to pick up, but it was slow. You know how it is. We were all cooped up, and it just seemed like he was blowing off steam. Then a couple years ago, he met Angel, and she was exactly that. An angel. She was smart, funny, and she saw the good guy in him that I saw. For a while, it was like a miracle. The crazy partying slowed down. He wasn't always 3 beers deep when I'd see him. He seemed happy, genuinely happy. I remember pulling her aside once and telling her, "Look, I'm his friend, but that means I'm your friend too. If you ever need anything, you call me, day or night." I had no idea that I was basically handing her a hotline to the darkest parts of his life. The first call came a few months ago. My phone lit up my bedroom at 2 a.m., and the screen just said Angel. My heart immediately dropped into my stomach. When I answered, all I could hear was panicked, rag breathing before she finally choked out the words. HED had a complete mental break. She had found him in their living room, drunk out of his mind, screaming that he was going to kill himself. She had to make the call to have him committed, just to keep him safe. It was only then that she told me the whole story. It was just blowing off steam. He was an alcoholic. He was drinking liquor every single night until he passed out, just to numb whatever pain he was hiding from the world. A few days later, he called me from the hospital. His voice was thin and raspy, full of shame. "I'm so sorry, man," he said. "I'm so sorry you had to see this side of me." He swore he was done, that this was his rock bottom, and he was finally ready to change. And I believed him. I wanted to believe him. He was my friend, my brother. I told him I'd get through it. But looking back now, I see the flaw in his apology. He wasn't sorry for what he did. He was sorry that I saw it. It was the first time I'd hear that excuse, an excuse I had become oh so familiar with. For a while, things were actually looking up. After he got out, he seemed to be taking it seriously. He was going to meetings, staying sober, and calling me just to check in. I was genuinely proud of him. It was around this time I had to move across the country for a new job opportunity. I was bummed to be leaving, especially then, but he seemed like he was on the right path, and Angel was there. I felt like he was in good hands. The distance made it harder to keep tabs, but from what I heard, things were stable. Then, about a month ago, I get another late-night call from Angel. Her voice wasn't panicked this time. It was quiet. "Hello?" That was somehow so much worse. She told me he was back on the bottle, binge drinking for days at a time. The reason for her call was that it had finally happened. HED put his hands on her. She tried to take a bottle of liquor from him, and he shoved her hard. After he realized what he'd done, he just collapsed into a drunken heap and passed out. My blood ran cold. The man I knew, the guy who would get in a fight for me, had just pushed the woman he loved. I didn't hesitate. "Angel, you need to get away from him," I said, my voice way firmer than I felt. "You need to take care of yourself. This is a line. It is never, ever okay. I don't care how drunk he is." His family ended up taking him to the hospital again after that. And of course, the same old song and dance followed. The apologies, the promises, the shame. It'll never happen again. But we all knew it was bullshit. The following weeks were a blur of similar incidents. No more physical stuff. Thank God, but just constant, excessive drinking. That brings me to today. My phone rang this afternoon, and it was Angel again. I could barely understand her through the sobbing. She was done. She couldn't do it anymore. He'd gotten physical again. But this time it had escalated. He tried to choke her. Choke her. The word itself felt like a punch to the gut. The world just went silent for a second. I immediately told her to get her things. Get to a friend's house. Get somewhere. Anywhere. Safe. We stayed on the phone while she packed a bag. And I found myself reading her domestic violence statistics from a website. My voice shaking. Angel, the stats say this is the most dangerous time. You have to leave. You have to. I was trying to use cold, hard facts to fight a monster that had once been my best friend. The person I grew up with is gone. In his place is someone I don't recognize, someone I'm terrified of. And now I'm just stuck. I'm sitting here in my apartment, 1,000 miles away, staring at a wall. I feel completely hollowed out. How do you reconcile the two realities in your head? One is the kid I grew up with, the guy who was more of a brother to me than a friend. The other is a monster who puts his hands on the woman he is supposed to love, who tried to choke her. They're the same person, and my brain just can't process it. My first instinct is to cut him off. Anyone who would even threaten their partner, let alone get physical, is someone I'd normally wipe from my life without a second thought. But then this other thought creeps in. This cold, heavy dread. I keep hearing his voice from that first hospital stay, talking about suicide. The addiction is a disease. I know that. It's twisting him into this unrecognizable version of himself. And I'm terrified. I'm terrified that if I walk away, if everyone who still cares about him walks away, that's it. He'll have nothing left to lose. And he'll finally act on those threats. How do you live with that? How do you weigh one person's safety against another's life? Especially when the abuser and the one at risk are the same man. So I've made a decision. I can't just sit here and do nothing. I booked a flight. I'm flying back to my hometown next weekend. I've already called a couple of his other old friends, the ones who've also been pushed to the edge by his behavior. We're going to do an intervention. We're going to sit him down, all of us together, and lay it all out on the table. No more excuses. No more apologies that mean nothing. We're giving him an ultimatum. He either checks himself into a real, long-term treatment program and commits to getting clean for good, or he loses everyone. Not just Angel. He loses me. He loses all of us. Permanently. And that's why I'm here, typing this out to a bunch of strangers on the internet. Is this the right move? This guy has been my whole life. But letting this disease turn him into someone I can't even stand to look at. Is there any way I can actually help him see the light? Or am I just setting myself up for more heartbreak? Is he already a lost cause?